What's going on, everybody? Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope everybody is doing fantastic with their holidays. The reason I didn't go on last week was because basically it was the day after Christmas. Families are together. You guys are doing your things. Really, no time for listening to somebody speak about spiritual stuff. I get it. So, I, of course, as you know, was alone in my hotel room, which is just fine. I do not celebrate Christmas. I do not celebrate the holidays. So um, I was alone and I was just fine with that. But I did not want to bother you on your holiday, time off, away with, friends, all that good stuff. And I hope each and every one had a blessed holiday. Several questions did come up while the holidays were there, and developed questions. And I thought that I could possibly talk about it. I'm going to do a video on it tomorrow, more in depth. But speak of it right now would be, just an excellent time. So why not? And the question I have getting recently is the meetings that I had with angels in my divine encounters since my death. A few things that I had mentioned in detail in some of those meetings, you guys don't understand why an angel would speak that way. Especially in this last one that I had on October 3rd of last year, that sent me to where I'm at now in Sacramento, California, right? So, there you are. Hello, Marie. How are you? Um, and I guess I really never went in depth to why those angels spoke to me the way they did. And I've had, other than three of them, spoke to me in very distinct ways. The first one did not. It was a very much a very loving encounter. I wasn't told anything. I wasn't, told where to go, this, that, or the other thing. Um, so I want to talk to you about each one of those encounters and how they went, what was said, and why they spoke to me the way they did. It's very important that you guys understand this. And a lot of questions I get are, why aren't I having meetings with angels? Why aren't angels coming to me? And I can talk about that too. And again, I'm going to do a video. I've done video, guys, a long time on this or on my channel. I just have the desire, the motivation, the whole ego death thing. I just don't care anymore, which is sad to say because I love you, but regardless. So let's go into each one of my four encounters with my angels. All right. Laura, hello there. How are you? Hi, beautiful. Aw, how cute is that? Thank you so much. So, as you all know, I had a near-death experience in basically on and around April 2nd of 2020. And again, guys, as you know, this has profoundly changed my life. And after that death, within those 5 years, I've had a space of not only 4 meetings with angels, but I had two very profound. Sorry about this. I have, guys. I wasn't going to come on, but hopefully it doesn't do too much. I had two profound out of body experiences as well. So the first meeting with an angel took place on November of 2023. I was working a job. It was very, very, very early in the morning. I despised the job. Something in me told me I shouldn't be there, and I shouldn't have been. But regardless, I was there. I was in a 500,000 square foot building all alone. I was like a building maintenance guy and janitorial stuff, right? So I was opening things up. The whole place was dark. And I was traveling to an area where all the doors were locked. I had to get into this place where I was going, and I opened up the door with the key, as I shut the door, and as I was walking across to my maintenance area, I unlocked the door and locked that door. When I turned around, there was something there. And I was like, whoa, I heard nothing. There was no footprints, no anything. It was just dead silent and dark. And he was smiling at me. And he was like, and he pointed to his clothes and he's like, well, I was just going in the bathroom because that's where I was going to clean it. He knew exactly where I was going to go. And he had very short brown hair, very beautiful. He was beautiful, period. He had a very square jaw, just like, that's why I call him Archangel Michael, because that's the way Archangel Michael looks when you look at Archangel Michael pictures. And he had a very, very trimmed beard, very short hair, but in ratty clothes. And he went into the bathroom and I followed him and I'm thinking, how did he get there? I would have heard doors open or close. And 1 second, there was nothing there. I turned around and then 1 second he was there. So I get to the bathroom and I follow him, right? He's just smiling at me. Like he is so happy to be around me. And we ended up just talking about stuff, and I ended up talking about my near-death experience and love. And he just pointed his head up north. He just like put his head up, and I'm sitting here talking for probably 15, 20 minutes, right? And then he was in front of me. Then he moved off to the left a little bit, and I continued my conversation with him, and his head was still pointing straight up towards the ceiling. And I'm like, and I'm feeling this draw to him. I'm feeling, and what it was I didn't know how to describe it at the time. It was an energy transference. We were basically soul to soul or soul to angel communicating. But even though I'm talking about my near-death experience and love. And then he points his head back at me, right? And he looks at me and he says, your name is Jason, right? And I'm like, whoa. Now I'm feeling really off. Like, how the hell do you know my name? I never said anything. It's like, whoa. And he shook his hand out to shake my hand, right? So when I grabbed his hand to shake it, it was cold. Like, if you've ever been to a funeral and you touch a dead body, there was nothing in it, right? But he was so strong. I mean, he literally could have crushed my bones into dust. I mean, that's how strong, but it was so strong, but gentle and loving. And he said, Jason, it was a pleasure meeting you. And then he turned to walk away, go out the door. And then he looked over his shoulder and he says, Jason, you'll hear from me again soon. And I'm like, and he walked out the door and I'm like, wait a minute, how do you know my name? Right? So I go to open up the door, the bathroom door that he just left. There's nobody there. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm not freaked out or scared, but I'm like, what the hell just took place? I'm really tired now, like really tired. I literally went up to a couple floors up. I found a couch and I fell asleep like on the job. I slept for 2 hours, like knocked out. I woke up and I'm like, what was this about? And I was trying to put two and two together. It was like all of a sudden I went into ignorant mode, stupid mode while I'm talking to this angel, right? I can't put two and two together. My mind is trying to race to figure out what is happening. How did this person know my name? I've never seen this person before in my life, right? And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm like, oh my God, that looked like Archangel Michael. And I'm like, why is God sending me Archangel Michael? What is going on? What is going on? Next Level Soul. Good evening, hon. How are you? It's good to see you. As I told you guys in the beginning, I didn't do my live last week because of Christmas and the holidays, and I'm sure all of you were scattered and weren't going to tell all your family, hold on, I got to go see Jason. So I just kind of let it all go and hope everybody had a beautiful Christmas. Hope everybody had a beautiful year. I was alone in my hotel room, so that's just the way that ball rolled. So that was my first meeting with an angel. Okay. Now, was there anything specifically said to me other than you're Jason, right? And I'm like, okay. Now we're going to fast forward 6 months. Now it's around April of 2023. Now, prior to this, a year before this, in 2022, I had a profound out-of-body experience, a profound one, which I could talk about that another time. I'm just talking about the meetings with my angels. So now this is the second time a massive, phenomenal spiritual event has taken place other than my death. So now fast forward to 2023. I tried to date, which was a big mistake because the only person I meant to be with is my twin flame, and this dating thing did not go well. Regardless, we went out for sushi, and as we were coming out of the restaurant, I saw what looked like a bum sitting on the curb behind, not behind, but right next to my Jeep. There was nobody else around. It was just my Jeep parked in that area. So as I'm walking up to this person, she's saying, "Don't you talk to him. Don't talk to him." And I'm like, no, that's not what we do. And she was standing next to me. He had a duffel bag and a cane, and his clothes looked like they were ratty from the 70s. He had a ratty jacket on, an old baseball hat, just a pair of blue jeans, but they're all just gruffy and old and beat up. And he goes, "Hi, how are you?" And all this smiling stuff. And I'm thrown into this, what the hell is going on? And he goes, he's leaned forward. He goes, "You love video games." And I'm like, and he's smiling. Okay. Smiles never stopped. He never, except for once. He's smiling. And I'm like, "How the hell do you know that?" And he goes, he started talking about money right away. He says, I have a lot of contacts in California. And I'm like, "Well, this isn't California, pal. This is Wisconsin." And I'm like, I was entertaining him, but I'm still feeling that energy draw again. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm feeling it right here in my chest. And he's like, I could hook you up with some very influential people. And I'm like, this is not California, dude. This is Wisconsin. So he's sitting there talking to me. And then he says, "Well, I'm an alcoholic. Do you know where I can get a beer or something to drink?" And I said, "Well, I just came out of a restaurant there, and there's Texas Roadhouse right down there. There's a bar right there, right?" But he's not even looking or paying. He's just eye contact with me. And he's like, "Well, look at me. I'm here in Wisconsin, and this is what freaked the girl I was dating out." He says, "Well, I'm here to help someone get a divorce, and I'm heading towards Oconomowoc, Wisconsin." And she freaked out because we were just looking at townhomes in Oconomowoc to move in together. She looked at me. Her eyes were gigantic. And he was talking to her. His eyes then went to her. He said, "I'm simply here to help her get a divorce. She's having problems getting a divorce." And she said, "Can I have the key to the Jeep?" And she grabbed my key and ran in there and locked the door, locked them. And I'm looking at this, right? And he's saying, "It's really about the love." And he's putting out a fist bump. And I'm like, what is going on? And he goes, "It's about the love." And he tries to get a fist bump. And I'm sitting there talking and I'm listening, just trying to, and again, he goes, "It's really about the love." And then I gave him a fist bump. And but when I touched his hand again, it was cold. And now this was April, it was spring, it was warm. It's like, why does his hand feel like there's nothing there? And I'm trying to put two and two together. So when you're in that situation, when we're in the matrix and they're glitching the matrix, it's like you become an instant moron. You're stupid. It's like you're trying to put, like, something's going on, but you can't put your finger on it, right? That's the state I'm in. My mind is just churning, trying to figure out what's going on. And he looks familiar. Now, this guy looked exactly the same as the guy I saw at my job 6 months ago. This time, instead of having, brunette hair, dark red hair, same type of beard, but it was dark red. And I'm trying to put two and two together. I cannot. So he asked me one more time. He says, "It's about the love." And I gave him that fist bump. And I said, "Yes, you're right. It is about the love. Is the only thing that matters." I said, "I had a near-death experience 3 years ago." And he cocked his head off to the side. He stopped smiling and he goes, "I know you did." And I'm like, I got full body chills. And I mean, energy shot out of me like a sun flare, just went whoosh, right? And I'm like instantly tingly all over. And I was like, okay. So I turn around to see if she's okay in the Jeep. And when I turn back, he's standing in front of me. So how did he get up from off the ground 4 feet away from me or from me and now stand in front of me in a different position without making any noise? No noise. He didn't grab the cane. He didn't grab his duffel bag. Now he's standing in front of me. I even said that. Whoa. And he leans in, he goes, your name is Jason, right? And I'm like, holy shit. What's going on? And I said, yes. And he says, Jason, you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, meaning my finances. Trust me, guys, your angels, your guides, your Father, Jesus, they know everything. They see everything. They know your thoughts, whether spoken or unspoken. Okay. At this time, I had not started meditating yet. I had not started meditating. So I said, yeah, what else is new? I said, I got the shit end of the stick my whole life. What else is new? Right. And he says, I'm an alcoholic. And he says, look at me. And I'm like, he says, last month I drank 110,000. I said, you drank $110,000 worth of booze last month. He goes, yeah, that's why I'm homeless. I lost everything. $110,000 worth of alcohol. You don't even stink. You have no smell. There's nothing. And I'm like, again, my mind is trying to put two and two together. And he said, would you be okay with that? I said, be okay with what? Making $110,000 a year? Yeah. I'm just making mid-30s. As you most eloquently said, scraping the bottom of the barrel. Thanks for rubbing salt into a very open wound. Right? So I'm like, yeah. So he said, walk with me. So I picked up his cane and his bag, and he took off in front of me, walking about 5 feet in front of me. And I'm trying to place what is going on. And he said, Jason, would you be willing to relocate? And I'm like, for that kind of money? Yeah. Wisconsin, there's nothing here in Wisconsin, nothing, right? I said, yeah. And then he goes, I can hear him humming. He goes, He looked over his shoulder and he said, how about Sacramento? And I'm like, Sacramento, California? I'm like, why that? I mean, then I'm thinking, well, for that kind of money, sure. Right? So he says, great, walk with me. So he's walking with a limp, but he's not even using his cane. So it's all an act. So we get into the restaurant and I get him to the bar where he wanted to drink. And we said a few parting words and he said, Jason, you'll hear me again. Not soon. He said, you'll hear from me again. Different wording. And I'm just trying to figure all of this out. And I patted him on the shoulder. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you well on your journey. I turned around to walk out the door, and as I'm almost to the door, I said, come on, I have to turn around. When I turned around, he wasn't standing there, but everybody else around the bar was. And when I was in the bar, nobody was paying attention to me. It was like I didn't even exist. Either one of us existed. Nobody paid a single clue or looked at me. So now let's talk about why he said 110,000 and he was an alcoholic. You have to understand, it's not deception. They're trying to disguise who they are, but yet in the same aspect, they're trying to accomplish their mission, right? I'm being divinely guided to my purpose, right? And I'm being guided on my way to that. So he came in here under the guise of a bum. Like the first guy came in as a worker. Nothing was spoken other than he knew who I was and I'll see you again. This is his version of himself again, right? 6 months later. So he's the guy telling me that in a roundabout way, using that financial term, is this is the kind of money, your success, your abundance in, wealth and success. This is what is coming, but you need to move to Sacramento. So he just couldn't come out to say, you know what, I'm an angel. I'm here to get you on track. That's not how this works. Okay. So that's why it was, some people call it deception. Well, why would an angel call himself a drunk? Why would he say, Jason, you're going to be making this kind of money? Are you okay with that? It's a ruse. But in the same way, that ruse is meant to guide me on my path, right? And that's all it was. He cannot come out per God, per Father, and say, I'm an angel. It doesn't work that way. You have to figure this stuff out, but you generally figure it out after they're gone. And the moment I turned around to walk away, he just went whoop, disappeared, and back home. He glitched the matrix. He glitched my dream. He popped himself in there under Father's guidance and to get me on my path. All that was. So he was letting me know what is going to be taking place in the future in my life. But I've got to be willing to go with that, right? So you'll understand now when he said, would you be willing to relocate to Sacramento? Because where am I, guys? Sacramento, California, right? So that's what that second meeting was about. All right. Third meeting was November of 24, almost a year later. It's now almost Easter, it's the day before Easter. And I'm like, I don't celebrate this crap. I've told you guys many, many times before, the Bible's a pile of crap. Okay. It's garbage. I don't believe in it. And I know it for a fact. It's the truth. So I said, you know what? I'm going to eat a good meal anyway. I've got a couple days off. I'm going to eat a good meal. So I went in to get my groceries. And as I was walking in, I was hit with another odd situation. There was a woman standing there, and in the shopping cart was like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, and they were kind of having a temper tantrum. But neither one of them made eye contact with me. They were just like standing still, like mannequins almost. It was weird. I got a creepy vibe from it. Like normal people would at least look up at you while I was walking in the store and not pay any attention, go back to what they didn't make any movements. They were just there. It was weird. Whatever. I walked in, was getting I had my cart full of the stuff that I wanted, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot the olive oil. So I'm finding the olive oil, right? And nobody's in the aisle. But I walked in about 15, 20 feet in because it wasn't in the end. It was like a quarter of the way in. Grocery aisles, they're long, right? Real long. So, and I'm like, why? I know exactly where it is. And I'm like, why can't I find it? So I'm standing up and I got into like a linebacker position, and I'm sitting here trying to find the olive oil, right? And now all of a sudden off to this section, right? I see a black mass right by my shoulder, came right through. And I looked up and I'm like, he walked through groceries. He walked through the aisle. And I'm like, not the open end, he walked through the groceries. And I'm like, whoa. And he's a young kid, he had a long stringly goatee and a black leather jacket, blue jeans and stuff like that. And he goes, hi, can I interest you in a Bible study? Now I'm looking up at him. Now all of a sudden that mom with the little kid in the grocery cart is standing right behind him. How did they get there? There's no noise. Nobody came down the aisle. And I'm like, and I look behind me, he's like, hi, can I interest you in a Bible study? And I'm like, okay. Now you have to understand this. So, and I'll tell you as soon as I finish the story, putting this all into context for you. And I'm like, no, no, thank you, young man, thank you. And he goes, are you sure? I said, yeah. I said, the Bible is garbage. I said, no. And sorry about that, glitching again. And I said, oh, And he says, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I'm very sure, but thank you. Thank you." Right. And this bantering was going on. He's trying to get me to go to this Bible study, but it was a test, just like the last one that I met was a test. So I'm looking up, and all of a sudden he starts to walk to the left, right in front of me. Now the mom and the child, they're gone. I didn't hear a grocery cart leave. There were 2 feet in front of me. Where did they go? Right now, nobody's walking down the aisles that you can see on the major runways, right? Nobody's moving anywhere. And I look at him and he goes, "Well, what about the second coming of Christ? Second coming of Christ?" And I said, "Young man," I said, "there is no second coming of Christ." And I said, "Let me rephrase this. There is no second coming of Christ where you're going to see some dude in the middle of the sky around the world where everybody can see him, and those rapture is going to come, and the rest of us unworthy sacks of shit are going to be left on a world where we're going to be tormented, raped, pillaged, burned, all of that." I said, "No." I said, "No." I said, "No, I'm not interested." And I said, "So there is no second coming of Christ." And we're talking, and he's again smiling at me, and he said, "Are you sure?" He says, "It's Easter." And I said, "Jesus did not rise from the dead 3 days later, okay? He wasn't even in his body when the crucifixion started or any part of it." I said, "So no." I said, "I'm good." And he reached out and shook my hand, and he says, "Well, happy Easter, and take care." So now he's got another 20 or 30 feet to go to the far end of the aisle. I go to my linebacker position. I'm like, oh. So I go to look. There's nobody there. Now I start seeing people going down the aisles. So why did he walk through the groceries? Now this person, I figured out who that was before I left the grocery store. That was Jeffrey, my guide. Okay, and the second out of body experience that I had when he introduced himself is, "I'm Jeffrey, I'm always with you," which is your guides, which is true. They're always with you. You're never alone. Something I've been saying from the very beginning. So why did Jeffrey ask me, do I want to join a Bible study? And if anybody knows me, part of what I'm manifesting is the end of the Catholic Church, what I'm going after through my teachings, right? So when he's asking me, do I want to join a Bible study, he knows damn well what I'm manifesting is the end of the church, the end of organized religion. This is something I will not stop with. You guys have been lied to. You've been duped, deceived, manipulated, and lied to for millennia, and it will end. So when he was asking me, "Jason, do you want," he didn't ask my name this time. This one didn't. So he was putting me to the test, and I'm going to follow through with what I'm going to bring into the 3D world. Okay, just like the second time he met me, am I going to follow through with what I've been manifesting with abundance, wealth, success? It's a test, and it's a way to guide me to my purpose. They are physically interacting with me and guiding me in my day-to-day dream or life, as you call it. So him asking me to join the Bible study was a direct way for me to absolutely make sure that I was going to say no. And when he asked me 5 or 6 times, my decision didn't change. Okay. That is why he came up and said Bible study. Okay. Now that's the third meeting with an angel, or this one was I think was my guide. Completely. Now the one that you guys all know, this October. So my life ended in basically the beginning of July of 2025. My lease came due. They jacked my rent so high that I was like, no, right? So I started looking for new jobs, and I started looking for new apartments, all right? Applied to probably 30 to 40 jobs, filled out numerous rental applications. Not one of those Now listen to this. Not one of those ever contacted me back. I left voicemails. I left emails. I'd like to see this place. I can afford this place. Nobody got back to me. So what do you think is taking place? It's a tower moment. My life that I knew is now over. Okay. Now, go back to the second angel, right? What's taking place is what he said, well, would you be willing to move to Sacramento? This is now taking place. My life is crumbling apart, like taking a cookie and crushing it, and you open up your hands and there's nothing but dust, right? Just little crumbles. That is what is now taking place in my life. I didn't know it at the time. I'm just getting frustrated. And I'm like, what am I going to do, right? What am I going to do? I sat down on the couch and then ding, 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 you have to move to Sacramento. So I told my landlady, I said, upping my lease. No, I'm out. I'll be out by the end of the month. I quit my job because my job was crumbling. I was very unhappy. It wasn't a good job. I quit my job, got a pod, and I started putting everything I could, like hoarding in a way. And then it was a brutally hot, it was in the 90s, sweating profusely, and I heard the word purge. They were telling me, you don't need that shit. You're going to have better stuff. So I hear purge, and all of this stuff that I had boxed up that had taken me days and weeks, I began to start throwing out. I threw out a TV, a 63-inch plasma TV, brand new crock pots, brand new plates and pots and pans, everything, right? Everything got tossed into the garbage. All my furniture, my computer desk. The only thing I kept was a brand new bed, my couch that I just paid for, my guitars, a couple paintings, my clothes, and a couple things that my kids had made me when they were little. Everything else got tossed in the garbage. 50 years of my life, when I cleaned out my storage unit, everything got tossed in the garbage. Garbage went. They took my pod, remember now? I was going to move to Phoenix, Arizona. I said, I'm a god. I'm changing the plan. California sucks. And you're listening to me? Good. It still sucks. So I said, I'm going to move to Phoenix. I have the pod shipped to Phoenix. Then you guys know the story. On July 25th, I picked up, got in my car, and drove. Not once did I fall into fear. I slept in rest areas the entire way, never paid for a hotel once. I had canned food that I had saved, like canned beans, canned corn, fruit, fruit cocktail. And I was eating a can of food a day, like a can of beans. They took away my appetite. I really didn't eat much. And I slept at rest areas. I pulled down the seats, got out my blankets, fell asleep, got on in the morning, right? Went in the bathroom, washed my areas that I needed to, brushed my teeth, on the road for 12 hours. Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Phoenix. Found the hostel. You guys saw my live sessions there, right? Next thing you know, I'm getting kicked out of the hostel. Literally, they evicted us. And I'm like, what the fuck? I said, I still have like 9-10 days to go. And they said, you need to move out now. And the guys around me were like, this never happens. What is going on? Well, what's going on, guys? The non-physical said, no, you're not living in Phoenix, Arizona. You said Sacramento, right? So I defied them further. I drove back up north towards Flagstaff, said, F you guys, I'll go to Prescott. I'll camp. $12 a day, real cheap. So I get up there, I'm there for 3 days. And what did they do? They got me violently sick. The groin area felt like I was kicked by a mule. I began to vomit and body aches everywhere, right? Out of all day. And it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, I went to lay down, folded the seats down. It was getting cooler out in the desert at night. And I said, I know what this is. They want me in California. I was like, oh, damn it. I said, fine. I'll go to California. I'll go to Sacramento in the morning. The moment I said that, guys, all the pain in my body left. I was no longer dizzy. The groin pain was gone. The back pain was gone. I wasn't throwing up anymore, and it was gone. Okay. I tried to break the rules, right? Because that's what I agreed to. Sacramento. Jason, would you be willing to move to Sacramento? Sure, for that kind of money. So I'm trying to renege on the deal. They're saying, no, no, right? So I drove 14 hours the next day from Prescott, Arizona to Sacramento, California. Got there at nighttime. I was so tired. I found a truck area to sleep. I got woken up by the police and said, with the lights flashing, you can't sleep in your vehicle. Now I'm in a state with no family, nowhere to go. Now I'm down to $200 in my account. Gas is $6 a gallon. I cannot drive around anywhere. I drove around for 3 hours, the entire city, trying to find a place to sleep. I could not sleep. I finally found a place on the side of the road and I crashed. Got up, you guys know it. You saw me in Lodi, California. I drove 30 miles south of Sacramento, where I stayed and lived in my Jeep for 2 months. So basically August and September. And that's when I had the meltdown with God, right? And when I got done with my meditation and I flew off the handle. Fuck you, and fuck you. I'm here, where were you? You abandoned me, right? You wanted me in the shithole state and you abandoned me. Where were you when I got run out by the cops, right? I'm sitting here. Where are you? And I said, you can all go to hell. You can all fuck off, right? And I was living in a Jeep. It was 105 degrees in my vehicle, no shade. I'm in the middle of the, wine country, desert, dust. And I'm like, I went off. I had snapped. And then that very night, I had the most, and this is the beginning of my vivid dreams that I've been having. All right. So I went off on God, went off on Jesus, went off on the Holy Spirit. Basically told them they could all three of them go fuck themselves. Because I'm not happy about being in California. There's nothing in this shithole state that is worth it. And if you ever come to Sacramento, don't. There's nothing here but drug addicts, homeless, and everywhere. Everywhere. It is a very sick city. It is a safe place in it. No, it is beyond wretched, Sacramento. It is a filthy shithole. So now I've got dealing with that, right? So I went off. That was the first night I had this very vivid dream of me living the life that I am destined to be living, right? I'm on that path. And Father showed me in vivid detail my life. And it was absolutely beautiful. The highest version of myself, the wealth, the success, the job, my twin flame being reunited with her and a family. Everything was there. It was bliss. It was beautiful, right? And I woke up, okay? And I was like, wow, it's happening. It's going to happen. And when I looked out my windshield, right in front of my windshield was a white feather just floating there, just like moving a little bit for like 2 minutes. It was just floating there, not falling down, not blowing it. It was just floating there. And then it just went whoop, off to the left and disappeared into the night. And I'm like, wow, this is going to happen. And I fell back to sleep and I couldn't remember a damn thing. That was the first one of my vivid dreams, right? 2 days later, it was mid-afternoon and I heard the voice in my head, you're early. And I was like, I'm early. And I'm like, oh my God, my lease didn't end until the end of August. I left a month early. So I really would have been living in my car for only 1 month at that time. Okay. And I'm like, oh man, more and more signs kept coming. I had a very vivid dream, again, showing me, Father is showing me what's going to be taking place. Have faith, right? What is faith? Something you can't see. You believe in God? Most of you would say yes. Well, how do you know? Have you seen him? I have now, but do you? But that's faith, right? So, the last meeting with an angel took place on October 3rd, my twin flame's birthday. I got up, tried to use my phone, and my phone was shut off. The service was like, I tried to make a phone call and I'd call somebody who's actually in the room here tonight, and it was just static. I couldn't call anybody. I couldn't get on the internet. I couldn't do anything, right? And I was like, what is going on? I got up, did my normal routine, woke up at 3 in the morning, shit showered, shaved, right in my vehicle, went in to go to the bathroom, went back out, fell back asleep. Now it's roughly 7 o'clock in the morning. I had to go to the bathroom again. This is the start of the meeting with the angel. So I walked out, typical what I've been doing for 2 months at this truck stop. I walk into the truck stop, and there's this old man staring at me. He's an older man, and I'm smiling. He just wasn't smiling. There was nothing smiley about this guy. He never once smiled. And he just looked at me, and I nodded, hey, good morning, walked by him. Now I walked by him. Now listen to this. So I walked by him to go down this hallway to go into the bathroom. When I walked into the bathroom, he's now standing in the bathroom. I just walked by him. Now he's standing there. People are walking by him, but they're not even acknowledging his existence. Like they could have walked right through him. But again, nobody's paying attention to this guy. And he looks at me and he's like, I'm like, how the hell did you just get here that fast? And I'm like, again, you feel something's off. Something's really off. Something's not going right here. I go to the bathroom. Now he's standing in the same spot that I go wash my hands. Like, how the hell? I look at him and I smile at him and I said, good morning. And I'm washing my hands and I turned away from him, and I go to grab some paper towel. He's not standing there. Now, I didn't hear him move. Normally you hear people move, you hear people walk, you can hear them. So I walk out into the lobby and there he is, staring at me again. So I'm like, what is going on? And I walk by him and I go out to my Jeep and I sit in there. Now he's walking in front of my Jeep, just like that. And he's staring at me. And I'm like, something's going on, right? So now I see him pull up in a car and he pulls alongside another car and he walks out and he says, excuse me. And he says, is it okay? Only says hour parking. I said, listen, pal, I've been parking spot for 2 months. Nobody cares. And he says, we started talking and he goes, and he had a very thick accent. And I found out later he's Argentinian, from Argentina, right? And he goes, now I've to explain this because this is what somebody asked of me again. He goes, I have a very rich friend. She's from Argentina. He said something very sexual, and that has to do with, he's reading my thoughts. And she said, well, she makes a lot of money and she likes this. And I'm like, no. I said, no, I'm not interested. I have, somebody's coming. I love somebody else. No, I'm not interested in what she's offering. And he's looking around my car and he goes, you need to move. And I'm like, you need to move right now. And I'm move. What do you mean move? And he started talking to me about, he said, Jason, you're in alignment. And I'm like, Jason, how do you know my name? And I'm like, that's when I said, who are you? I said, who are you? And he goes, I'm just a man. I go, no, you're not. No, this time I'm catching on. So I said, who are you? I said, you're either a master or you're one of my guides or you're somebody. He goes, I'm just a man. I said, you're not. Who are you? Did Father send you? This what freaked me out. He goes, no, you sent me. I sent you. I said, he goes, yes, you need to move now. And I'm thinking, where am I supposed to go? And he says, somebody needs you. Somebody. And then he started talking about a job. He says, you need to get new clothes for an interview and don't talk about your spirituality. And he says, so you need to get new clothes and you need to move now. And I said, and I started talking and we started talking about people. And I said, look out there. And he turns around, he's looking around. I said, everybody out there is me. There's nobody out there that's not me. And he goes, Jason, you're teaching me stuff I already know. That's when I said, well, then who are you? I'm not trying to teach you anything. And he reiterated again. He said, Jason, you need to move now. You are in alignment and you are powerful. You need to go. Somebody needs you. And I said, go where? I don't have any money. And he whipped out $40 from his wallet and he says, you need to go now. He got in his car, and before I could see him like fully leave, he just disappeared. And I'm like, and I tried calling the person that's in this chat room, tried to get the phone to work. Nothing would work. Nothing would work. My phone was non-existent. So what did the non-physical do? Just like they did in Arizona. They're starting to shut down my technology, right? So I'm like, I know what this is about. God damn it. I said, they want me in Sacramento. So I cleaned up my car. I got everything packed up, bestowed everything away, and I started driving. 10 minutes away on the expressway, my phone started to work instantaneously. Made phone calls, and the person knows because I was venting pretty hard. I was telling them, I was screaming at the top of my lungs, there's nothing there, right? So I get into the first hotel room. I did my live that night. Now, out of nowhere, a company calls me up, says they're interested in me, a job that I never applied, right? I go in, I have this long conversation with this temp agency. Some time had passed. A week later, hey, you got an interview. They want to meet you right away. I walk into that interview. By the time I got to my car, I had a phone call. You got the job. They want you to start tomorrow. They want me at this job. Doesn't pay for shit. I mean, I could barely take care of, I'm not even really I'm still relying on other people to help me. But, for very little, I can take care of the most. But they wanted me in Sacramento because I need to be at this job. And the angel said, well, Jason, the past doesn't exist. This last one, he goes, so I said, then why am I here? Why did I meet that angel? I said, so where's this money coming from? I thought I was going to be a teacher. He says, that's coming in a roundabout way. I said, so I need to go back into this job or a job that I left to become a teacher. So this will happen. He goes, yes. So whatever's going to happen at this job is going to come through in a roundabout way. But I cannot find another job because I've been trying. Same thing as before. They're just shutting everything down. I need to be where I'm at. So what happens? I get a message from Next Level Soul, from Alex Ferrari, right? Hey, I really like to have you on the show. You can come in person or not. Now, this is why I needed to be in California. So I get the thing, and the person in this room, her and her husband, bought me a plane ticket round trip and got me a hotel room in Austin, Texas. They wanted me at the show. We came to the conclusion, my gut feeling or my instinct, my intuition said I needed to be there. It was very strong. It was undeniable. And now you're going to find out why. So that Saturday comes, 10 o'clock in the morning. We have a fantastic interview. This interview will air January 6th, guys. So if you know Next Level Soul, this coming Tuesday, my episode comes out. So there you go. So Alex and I are talking. I contacted an Uber. So the Uber's coming to pick me up. Now this is going to freak you guys out because it freaked me out. So give me a shake hand. The Uber's here. He said, Jason, it was a pleasure. Good luck on your journey. You as well, my friend. So I get in the Uber, young black lady, probably in her early 20s. She was going to start making fun of my name because, it was October kind of thing. It was the end of October, end of November. So we started talking. She goes, what brought you to Texas? Or I said, well, I was here giving an interview about my death. I had a near-death experience. And she turned around and we started talking and, she became very, very emotional. And her exact words were, I said, I love you. I said, I love you no differently than I love my own children. I said, I love all of you this way. And I said, so, and she just started crying. Just the tears were flowing down her face. And she looked over her shoulder and she goes, you don't know how much I needed this. And I was like, what did you say? She goes, I really needed this. I can't begin to tell you how much I needed this. And I'm like, get out of here. I was like, I'm expecting the person that needs me to be here in California in my job or the surrounding area at a grocery store. No, I had to fly to fucking Texas so this person that needed me could get to me. They had access to me, right? But I wouldn't have gotten Alex's phone call had I not transferred out to or moved to Sacramento, California. So what that angel just said a month ago just came to fruition. I found the person that needed me. We had a 15, 20-minute conversation. She got out of the car and said, can I please hug you? And she gave me a hug like it was the last hug she'd ever have in her lifetime. And she goes, thank you again. I really, really needed this. And I was like, this is insane. And I walked away, and that was that. The following day, I flew back from Texas back to Sacramento, California. And now I'm out of Sacramento. I'm living in Woodland, which is about 20 miles, like kind of west of it, which is fine. They're not telling me I cannot be here. And I'm living in a hotel and I'm at this job. So that is what, to this person that watches my videos, the live videos and stuff, this is what I mean by why those angels, they're not deceiving you. They're not tricking you. They're testing you. Okay. But they were testing me to make sure I would go through with what I am manifesting every morning at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and every night before I go to bed, when I'm manifesting and bringing into the 3D world what I want. Okay. They are confirming that and guiding me to where I need to be for this to happen. So it's not, why do I want this guy's girlfriend, right? It has nothing to do with that because it was a test. They know I want my twin flame. They know I've waited a decade for her and that I've been celibate for 10 years. Okay. They know this. So if I would say, yo, she likes it this way and she's got money. Oh, sure. I'll take her. They know that what I'm trying to manifest is nothing more than bullshit. So I shot them all down, said, no, my twin flame is coming. I love her. This is the one I want babies with. This is the one I want my life with. And her life is ending right now. Her marriage is crumbling. She's losing her children because she's going to be moving out to me. And when I said that, he goes, yes, she's coming to you when you're established. So part of my gripe is, well, how can I get established on $19 an hour when my rent is over $2,000 a month? Groceries are insane. Gas is insane. How's this going to happen, man? Right? You won't let me have another job. You won't let me make money. But what? So they're all a test, guys. It's a test to make sure I'm going to follow through with what I'm saying I'm going to do. Okay. The guy in the grocery store, can I have the Bible study? Knows damn well I'm going after the church. The church can go fuck itself, right? The filth that they've spewed for millennia ends with me. I will bring it down, and I don't have a problem with it. It is a love story. It's absolutely a love story, hon. So they are putting me to the test. Am I going to back my mouth up with what I'm, right? Are my actions going to follow through with what I'm manifesting? And they're guiding me to my purpose. I am frustrated because the human Jason that's having this experience, right, is impatient. But it's called divine timing. Everything is happening as it should. I am right where I need to be. And I'm being divinely guided, loved, and brought through to my highest self. But they are making sure that what I'm asking, I'm going to back up with. Okay? That's all it is. So when they say, well, you can have my girlfriend, she likes it this way and she's got money. The first thing I said was, no, I'm not interested. No. There's only one being that I want to be with the rest of eternity with. And she is coming to me. And he said, yes, when you are established, meaning she's got to finish what she's doing. And while that's taking place, I will be becoming established with what's going on. So don't get confused when they're telling me and they're like, why would he offer you $110,000? Why is he telling you to move to SAC? Because this is where it's all going to go down. Okay. What is California other than the most expensive state, right? People have money. They have power in this state. Somebody with power, somebody that is watching me on a regular basis on this platform, right? And my gut feeling, and I was talking to this person tonight on the phone, says, I have a funny feeling that when Next Level Soul comes out and he sees this, or they, she, it, whatever, sees this, that this is when the contact is going to be made and the everything is going to blossom. The contract is going to come in and you're going to see me speaking in front of hundreds and thousands of people, not only here in the States, but around the world. Patience. It's a very hard thing for me to do when I am not knowing where I'm going to live week to week, where I'm going to eat, right? But somehow, some way, it's all coming together. I'm not sleeping in my Jeep. I have a warm hotel room. I have a shower every day. It is absolutely the greatest love story ever taking place. And I will tell you this now, is even though I am frustrated beyond belief, right? I am beyond blessed. I am beyond grateful for everything that is happening in my life, for those that have been helping me on this journey, from all of your love and support of me, coming in here and watching me and supporting me. I am beyond grateful and beyond blessed. I moved away from my children. I moved away from my grandchildren to be utterly, utterly alone. And I am. Why? Because God, when you go through these things, when you go through a spiritual awakening, it's not to destroy you, right? But God will strip you bare of everything that was meant or that was meaningful in your life. It's not to crush you, it's to rebuild you, right? I am being rebuilt from the DNA level up for this mission that I was asked to do. Is it hard? Yes. Many people say, I don't know how you do it, Jason. I would have given up I wouldn't have even done it, right? And I refuse to give up. I know what's taking place. I've seen the future. And I've told you guys that last vivid dream about the war that is coming, the death of all of those that took the COVID shot and the jabs. I've seen the future. I know what's coming. It's the end of what we know. It's the end of the world. Not literally, but figuratively, with the beginning of the very beginning of the golden age of Earth. So that is why I needed to come on tonight and explain to you why these angels said such things. It was meant to throw me off the track. It was meant to they didn't want me focusing on and trying to figure out who they were, right? They were trying to get this message across, portray the love, and then, let Jason take off and go from there, right? I'm being guided, breadcrumbed, so to speak. It's frustrating. It's maddening. It's been a brutal assault on my body. This job is very hard on me, but I'm right where I need to be, doing what I need to be doing. Do I understand it? No, I have no clue why. But it's like when an archer draws the arrow back, right? The arrow, your elbow goes back into a past part of your life, right? Only for a little bit, because what happens when he lets go of that arrow, your arm comes back and then you're launched into the highest version of yourself. And I'm right there, guys. This is the death, the true death of Jason Janis, the version of me that is in this timeline. I'm being catapulted into the highest, most abundant, successful, wealthy version of myself. I just have to be patient. And that is why those angels said what they said and did what they did. They are putting me to the test, making sure that I am going to follow through with what I am manifesting. Okay. They're making damn sure that this is what's taking place, because behind the scenes in the non-physical, it is all coming to fruition. Father's making it happen. The angels, guides, and everything. It is coming to fruition. He's bringing it here. That's what it is. And that's all it is. And for you guys that don't understand it, that's what it was. It's simply a test. Will I see another angel? Without question or doubt. Laura, I'll be so glad. I'll be so glued to the Next Level Soul episode on January 6th, just like I'm glued to this live tonight. I'm so honored. Thank you so much, son. I am so blessed. Thank you. Telkwire, hey, Jason, I finally finished my book and I'm very excited to share it with you. Are you? Well, I'm honored. I would love it. I'm almost done with A Course in Miracles. I'm on to the next, I'll be going on to the workbook, but tomorrow I'll be doing a lot of reading from there. So, divine alignment, beautiful soul. Yep, that's what it is. I'm in alignment with what I came here to do, guys. Do you know when he said that to me, my heart skipped a beat? How many people, not that I know of anywhere, that have had this experience where they say, an angel says, Jason, you are in alignment, meaning you are here and now aligned with what you came here to do. It's happening, right? Get up and get going. This has to happen. So that is beyond powerful, guys. Every night I think about that. When I start to fuss, Jason, you're in alignment. You're right where you need to be. Sorry, guys. Hey, Nicholas. Sorry about that. Clearly the non-physical did not want me. The Xena, hello. How are you? Oh my goodness, such a love story. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm very excited. Why don't you share it with me if you're still here, Telkenwire. Divine alignment, beautiful soul. It is divine alignment. Absolutely. Lori Mascate. Um, Nicholas, Jason, your story is so inspiring. Your story is a good reminder that everything will be all right, and whatever challenges we're going through shall pass. Yes, absolutely. Again, guys, I'm sorry about that. It just shut me down, and it is over the hour, so I'll let it go. Um, but thank you for sticking with me tonight. I'm glad that I got to the end of it by able to tell my story. I love all of you so very much. I hope you had once again a beautiful holiday season. I'm right where I need to be. I'm frustrated. I'm tired of it. It's hard. Okay, it's really hard. Um, but I won't give up. Um, I've cleaned off my altar. There are no more false idols on my altar. It is that of my Father, and that is all that is on my altar. Yeah, and I will leave it at that. I love you all so very much. Thank you for showing up. Again, look for Next Level Soul on the 6th. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down in the comments. I will read them later when this gets downloaded. And I will talk to you guys later. All right. I love you all. Enjoy the rest of your blessed weekend. And I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.